Well, hello, friends, neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here. Welcome down the duck. It's Sunday, so we're going to talk some samples, and we're in March, so we're going to talk some Irish samples. And such a great shout out and thanks to Richard, who sent me some samples just in time because I was out of Irish samples and I wanted to shoot something this weekend because we're heading, of course, into St. Patrick's Day. So I have some great samples here from Richard. We've got Redbreast 12. Irish single pot still, then Redbreast 15, Irish single pot still, and then Red Spot 15, also Irish single pot still whiskey. So this will be a really nice walkthrough to see, how the 12 and the 15, and finally a different casking treatment, different group behind, the Red Spot 15. So if you have any Irish single pot still whiskey or any one of these, the Redbreast 12, 15, or Red Spot, why don't you pour a little bit and come on back and, we'll share some thoughts and we'll let the whiskey speak. 3, 4. Okay, well, thanks for coming back and for joining me here as I'm going to sit through these samples. Now, I have had the Redbreast 12. I think I've had a sample of the Redbreast 15 before. I've never had the Red Spot, but it's been actually quite a while. And so as with samples, we're just going to nose and taste and talk. I won't rate, but I'll give my thoughts here. So, Redbreast really doesn't need any introduction. It's a very well-known Irish single pot still whiskey. If you're just getting into whiskey or you're thinking like, well, what is single pot still? I would say at its core, what makes Irish single pot still unique is that it is that mix of malted barley and unmalted barley. I think back in 18th century, something like that, trying to beat the tax man because the taxes were heavier on malted barley. They put some unmalted in the mash, and that was kind of born that single pot still. Now it is distilled in pot stills, and these ones are all actually triple distilled. That's not true of all Irish whiskey, but it's certainly quite common in Irish whiskey. Now, the Redbreast 12, as I understand it, it's released at 40%, so it's going to be chill filtered. And I think it's colored. And I think the casking behind the 12 is just ex Oloroso. I think so. If I'm wrong, please just correct me in a friendly way. Let's talk about the whiskey. It's such a nice nose. It is rich. It is fruity. For me, there's kind of berry fruits, but already a little bit of spicing in there, kind of prickling on the edges. I can't identify them, but like a rich, thick, pudding spice, like a plum pudding type. Now that's a little too thick when I said that plum pudding. I'm like, no, we're not going there. But, there's a little bit of those kind of dark cinnamons, sweet brandies, that kind of thing. Nice nose. Let's try it on the palate. Sancha. I like the palate of Redbreast as well. I find it really nicely coating, even though, as I said, this is probably chill filtered. And it really, to me, tastes, darker fruits with nice light vanillas, little floral. It really, there's even a bit of oak that I can get in here that gives it a nice edge or balance of tannins to the fruit. I'm gonna stay with that kind of berry fruit, maybe a little bit of strawberry, that kind of thing. Now, it's not overly fruity. It's not like a sherry bomb kind of fruity, but it is just a really nice balanced whiskey. Another quick sip. I really like Redbreast 12. I know it's kind of starting to creep up in price, and it's got those knocks, 40%, chill filtered, colored likely. But even there, I got, like edges of a little more cinnamon or light oaks or wood, kind of from the palate or the second sip, which keeps it to be, for me, really a very balanced Irish single pot still. I like it. Moving on to the Redbreast 15. Now, it has been a very long time since I've had this. So this, as I understand it, aside from being 3 years older, now we've got natural color, non-chill filter, 46%, and there is some ex-bourbon in here. So it's ex-bourbon and ex-sherry, not just the ex-sherry that I believe is the case behind the 12. Let's talk Redbreast 15. You know, it's actually a very similar nose. Just try a little comparison here. But I would say here I was going to say there's more fruit, but when I came back to it, I got a little hints of chocolate, but also light fruit. This, I got a little bit of almost like a nut or a little more huskiness to it. Yeah, still getting some fruits here. It's a little more, be the fruits, maybe a little bit more orchard fruit. So it's not quite as berry as this one is for me. Let's try it on the palate. Sláinte. Could be going to 46, could be the non-chill filter. I find the 15 really fills my palate really nicely, really coating. Even though I did say that of the 12, this now is more velvety, more, you know what, just honestly, that coating nature is beautiful. I'm going to stay with a little more orchard type fruits, a little more, roasted berries. The spicing isn't as Christmas cakey, which is surprising for me. But I just, that coating nature, I'm sorry if I'm making strange mouth sounds, but that is part of the experience here, and it's much richer. Another quick sip. Boy, I really enjoy that. For my palate right now, I might be more here. A couple of months ago, I might be more the Redbreast 12, because the 12 is certainly for me a more expressive sherry, where this has more layers, more roasting, more, yeah, a little more oak on that, but just even the way it really plays in my palate, it's just something that's not chewier exactly, but something that I'm going to be working through a little longer, and I would love to relax with any of these, but this one here, I like a little bit better today. Let's bring in our final sample today from Richard. This is Red Spot. Now, Red Spot gets their whiskey from Irish distillers, from the Middleton Distillery, but they are a long-time family of, I was going to say blenders, that's not it. What do they call whiskey bonders? Is that it? Where they would buy whiskey and then age it in their own casks, like bulk buy, whiskey merchants, and then they would sell it on. And they're famous for having put paint colors on different casks to identify the years. And so red is 15, 12 is the yellow, green is actually, I don't think it carries an A stamp, but it's something 10 to 12 in there, or maybe it's 10. And the blue, I think, is 7 years. So I have never had red, and Yellow Spot is one of my favorites. Now, it has ex-bourbon, ex-sherry, and is it Marsala? I'm going to say that wrong. But it's that sweet wine cask. Let's try it on, and it's also 46. It's also non-chill filtered, so we'll see what it's like on the nose and on the palate. Definitely sweeter on the nose. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the 12 in that it's sweeter. I'm getting a little bit of maybe like a white grape. Certainly lighter, fruitier, fruit forward on the nose, certainly from the 15. Let's try it on the palate. Sláinte. Interesting. The palate still has that fruit bouquet, some nice malt sugars. The interesting part for me was that I was getting all of a sudden that malt graham cracker that I really wasn't getting in either of these two, and kind of surprised me. I don't get it a lot in the Yellow Spot, and the Yellow Spot is one of my absolute favorite Irish whiskeys. I better try another sip. Sláinte. So throughout this tasting here, I am getting but a lighter, more floral, more expressive fruiting. As I mentioned, some white grape or some of that, something that's a bit lighter, little light raisin kind of going on. And now a bit of peppering in the finish that I didn't really get across these. Very interesting. I took a quick sip through this, didn't want to spend your time doing it, but I really wanted to know, just in this moment, what about these whiskeys are standing out for me? And for me, this is the 12-year. It's a really nice balance of some fruiting. I'm mentioning strawberry, and now I'm getting some chocolates on it, and I really like that. The Redbreast 15 for me, it's that coating, slight marzipan nut going on that is just enticing me. It's interesting, and I want to spend more time with it. And surprisingly, the Red Spot 15 is a little bit more spicy. Now that I've kind of gone through, it's got in the nose definitely more, white grape or floral fruits. But in the palate and in the finish, it's actually a little more spicy, like a little bit of cracked pepper going on, which is quite different. So that's kind of my thoughts on the differences. So, I'm super excited and thankful to Richard for bringing these here. In this just first walkthrough, quite a bit of spicing is coming back here. I'm gravitating toward the 15. It's coating. It's a little thicker. It's got, some fruiting, but it's a little darker, a little more, leather edge of char wood. There's stuff in here that I'm really liking. Of the bright fruiting, the 12 stood up incredibly well considering its pricing versus, these two whiskeys here. I need to spend more time with this Red Spot. I'm liking it, I'm enjoying it, but I'm sure tasting that wine finish a fair amount, which is nice. It's a good dessert wine, I would say. It would be kind of that thick on its own. This would be an evening pour, and this would be great after dinner. Anyways, I like each of these Irish single pot still whiskeys and could honestly recommend any of them if you're looking for something a little better for this coming St. Patrick's Day, something that you're bringing some friends over, and after you've cheered and had some green beer or whatever it is you guys do, and you want to relax with something that has a little more depth. I think any one of these would do it. My favorite today is the Red Spot 15, but the Redbreast 15. But I have a feeling this Red Spot might grow on me a little. Thanks again for joining me here. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend and are looking forward to a good week and a happy St. Patrick's Day.